Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Nariman Ajjour, and I'm here to represent the Gaza Canadian League, and also as someone with family still trapped in Gaza, waiting desperately for evacuation. For the past 6 weeks, Palestinian Canadians and allies have been gathering right here, outside of the IRCC office and cities across the country, to demand IRCC to reform the Gaza TRV program and safely evacuate our families who have been cleared for eligibility and security and background checks. We are here today again because our families are starving, living under constant bombardment, and instead of responding to our calls and sitting down with us, IRCC has chosen to ignore us. Canada has failed to act on its own promises. In December 2023, the Canadian government announced what is so-called the special immigration measures for extended family in Gaza, promising refuge for 7,500 Palestinians from Gaza who have family in Canada. On paper, this program offers fee-exempt study and work permits, temporary resident status, and support for family reunification. But almost 2 years now, the reality is starkly different. Zero evacuation have been directly facilitated by Canada through this program. Fewer than 1,000 Palestinians have made it to Canada, most having to risk everything to escape on their own and paying bribes to companies in Egypt. As Amnesty International notes, and I quote, "The Gaza special immigration measures is full of bureaucratic roadblocks and delays that make it inaccessible for the vast majority of people it was designed to help." Around 1,000 Palestinians remain stuck in Egypt and neighboring countries, waiting over a year for security checks. Some have been faced with interrogation interviews by CBSA. Meanwhile, Canada has processed over 8,000 visas for Israelis and welcomed more than 298,000 Ukrainians. Other countries, including France, Germany, Italy, and Ireland, have shown that family reunification can be done with a success rate above 95%. This pattern reveals a deeply racist system. Despite capacity, Canada chooses not to act to Palestinians, while other populations are prioritized, leaving families living in a constant fear and separation. For me, this crisis is not abstract. 2 weeks ago, my father was injured in an airstrike in their neighborhood in Gaza. He was left bleeding for hours before he could even reach a hospital. I could have lost him. I already lost my brother in 19th of October 2023. And for the past 19 months, I have been advocating for the safe evacuation of my family from Gaza, including his 3-year-old son and his 28-year-old widow. Every day that Canada delays, our families' lives hang on the balance. Today we are joined by voices that bring the human, political, and moral urgency of the crisis in Gaza. Each speaker here will share a perspective that highlights the devastating impact of the ongoing genocide, displacement, and the urgent need for Canada to act on its own promises to reunite families. We had a speaker planned from the Gaza Canadian community to share his personal story of losing family members while waiting for evacuation. He's unfortunately unable to speak as he's mourning a recent loss. We hold him and his remaining family members in our hearts and prayers. And now, Mohammed Zaqqout, a Gazan Canadian, a Palestinian Canadian, will share his story of applying to this TRV program.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed. I speak today as a child of Gaza, as a son, as a brother. I live here in safety, but my family doesn't. For 22 months, 22 painful months, Canada has failed us. Since the reunification program was announced, we have lived on promises, only empty promises, that turned into silence, and silence that has become suffering. The IRCC says it is so hard to get people out of Gaza, but the Red Cross says they've done it. People were evacuated until today. Where there is will, there is a way. My mother, brothers, and in-laws are still suffering, are still under bombardment, are still under starvation. On the other hand, my father is a 60-year-old. He is sick. He had to have surgery after surgery in Jordan while being trapped away from his children and wife, losing a friend and a family member every once in a while. It's been lots of suffering for him. His heart couldn't take it, so he had to have an open heart surgery. Being in Jordan with no insurance, no work, no care, alongside my brother with him, living in a limbo. So why aren't they here? What is the excuse for those families who are already outside Gaza? So every delay is a wound, and every excuse is another nightmare. We are not asking for charity. We're only asking for dignity and justice, for the right to hold our families again, to bring them medicine, and to help them live in safety and dignity, and to ask Canada to stop arming Israel. 22 months is long enough. Our families can't wait another day. They are devastated. They are suffering. They are still looking to the world and to Canada as a beacon of hope, and we still continue and ask to get them out to safety and support them. Thank you.
Our next speakers are councillors Daniel Totrot and Alison Go, who has been a strong advocate for human rights and stand in solidarity with the Palestinian Canadians demanding family reunification.
Hello, my name is Daniel Tatro. I'm a city councillor in Burnaby, and I'm here with my colleague and friend, Councillor Alison Gu. And we're here today to show our support and solidarity for family members in Burnaby, in our community, and all around the region who are waiting in anguish for their family members to be evacuated. Hearing the stories today are just heartbreaking, but this is avoidable. I can't help think about my own family and my young kids, and to think of them being shot at, bombed, starved, and how it would make me feel if my government was not taking action or doing all they could do to get them out. We know the utmost urgency of this situation. This cannot wait. Israel's genocide of bombing, starving, and now going into Gaza is happening every day, live streamed. And countries around the world have shown if there is a will, there is a way. They can get people out. They can drop some of these bureaucratic requirements and get people out. So we are here today to call on our government and to show solidarity, to take all needed action to get these Gazan family members out. And I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Councillor Gu now.
Working in politics, we understand that everything we do is a choice. Designing a bureaucratic program with so much red tape that it seems like it was destined to fail was a choice. Not getting family members out of the way of bullets and bombs is a choice. The fact that Prime Minister Carney has focused on releasing a couple statements and empty words instead of focusing on the task at hand, which is to get loved ones out safely, is a choice. This is a life or death situation, and every day that loved ones stay in danger is risk of dying from being shot at, being bombed, manufactured starvation, manufactured disease. And it's time for the government of Canada to actually take action, follow in the footsteps of what other countries have done, and recognize the urgency of the situation. We have spent days, years actually, waiting for the government to take real action, and it's getting to the point where we're in the last hours. So we need action now, and this is why my colleague and I have continued to advocate and are here today advocating with Burnaby residents and our fellow Metro Vancouver residents.
Thank you, councillors, for using your platforms to amplify this urgent issue and for standing with our community. Our next speaker is Eve Wolinski. She's an EMDR therapist and trainer, as well as a Jewish activist and vocal anti-Zionist, active in pro-Palestinian solidarity organizing in Vancouver. She will speak about the trauma and mental health impact caused by the prolonged displacement and the long wait for safety, both for families in Gaza awaiting evacuation and for their relatives here in Canada.
Good morning. My name is Eve Wolinski. I'm a Jewish activist, and I want to be clear that this violence is not in my name. My Judaism and my work in the field of psychology as a registered clinical counselor in a profession with deep Jewish roots, including in my own family, compels me to stand in solidarity with Palestinians and to speak out. As a trauma specialist, I want to speak about the deep and lasting psychological harm of the past 2 years, both for people in Gaza and for Palestinians here in Canada, many of whom have family there. In Gaza, people are enduring constant bombardment, displacement, loss, and forced starvation, what we call ongoing traumatic stress. This is different from post-traumatic stress, PTSD, because there has been no post. The trauma is continuous. There has been no safety, no pause, no chance for the nervous system to reset. One mother in Gaza, desperate to feed her children, reportedly asked, "Is it permissible to cut off..." Speak right into it. Is it permissible to cut off? Is it permissible to cut off my hand to feed my children, to cut it off, to cook it and feed it to my hungry children? As a trauma specialist, a mother, and a human being, I hear the despair in that question. It reflects profound suffering and moral injury. When experiences shatter a person's deepest held values and beliefs, leaving a lasting mark on the psyche. Here in Canada, Palestinians witness the destruction from afar, constantly fearing for loved ones, overwhelmed with helplessness, but also guilt that they're here safe in Canada while their loved ones suffer. One father in Toronto described living in two realities, sending work emails while refreshing the news every few minutes to see if more family members have been killed. We know what helps. There are trauma treatments that reduce things like PTSD and anxiety and depression. And these treatments can be used when there's safety and stability and space to heal. In Gaza right now, this is impossible. There is no safety, there is no reliable shelter, no food security, and no guarantee that therapist and client would even survive to the next session. When the violence finally ends, the mental health need will be staggering. These wounds will not fade on their own. They will shape lives, relationships, and communities for decades. And as epigenetic research shows, it will be passed on to the next generation. This is what is called collective trauma. There is hope for healing through approaches like EMDR therapy, which is recommended by the World Health Organization and is what I practice. There is hope through Palestinian cultural practices of resilience, through the simple act of gathering in community to share food and grief and witnessing, and other individual and communal practices. But the first step is to end the violence. Only then can we begin to build the psychological safety necessary for Palestinians to heal in Gaza and here in Canada.
Thank you, Eve, for helping us understand the profound psychological toll of this crisis. Our next speaker is Beth Carlson Malena. Beth is a faith leader with Open White Church and Christians for a Free Palestine, advocating for justice and solidarity through faith.
Hello, thank you for welcoming me, Nariman. I'm here because Jesus was a refugee whose life was in danger from the moment of his birth and whose family had to flee to Egypt to survive. And I'm here because sadly so many Christians, past and present, have not followed Jesus the refugee, but have fueled white supremacy, closed borders, and supported racist Zionist policies. So I and my fellow Christians need to take accountability for being part of the problem and work toward becoming part of the solution. My scriptures tell me that I have a responsibility to welcome strangers, and that by doing so, I may actually unknowingly welcome angels. But thanks to Nariman and her friends, I've learned and had my eyes open to the fact that not only will our leaders not allow us to welcome strangers, but they won't even allow us to welcome family members. For the Canadian government to offer false hope by launching this Gaza Special Measures Program, to place Herculean demands for documentation and biometrics on a population that has been bombarded so heavily that there is almost zero infrastructure left, and then to grant not a single evacuation in 20 months to the over 7,500 families who applied, families who are waking up every single day of these 20 months worried that their family members are no longer breathing in Gaza, including some families who have sadly since lost their loved ones in that time. And to know that not a single family has been reunited in Canada. This to me is worse than a government that makes no promises at all. To raise the hopes of vulnerable hurting people only to dash them or to force them to wait through almost 2 years of daily terror is profoundly cruel. My father is a retired pastor in Prince George. He opened his home to a Ukrainian family who was evacuated to Canada. That family was among 500,000 Ukrainians welcomed by Canada, welcomed with a red carpet, with opened arms, with a simplified, fast-tracked process, without even needing to have a family member present here, just by virtue of their nationality. And I'm sure my father would eagerly host people's family members who are fleeing Gaza, but there are none of them to welcome because our government has a double standard when it comes to white refugees and Arab refugees. People of faith, as well as people of deep conscience and humanitarian values, it is our responsibility to call out racism when we see it, to call it wrong, to call it evil, and to advocate and work tirelessly until the system changes, until all humans are treated equitably. That's what these good people have been doing every Wednesday with these sit-ins, faithfully pleading for Canada to do better and refusing to sit back and accept this racist system. So we call to Minister Diab and the IRCC, we call to Minister Anand and Global Affairs Canada, to the Prime Minister Carney. We ask you, we plead, we demand that you put diplomatic pressure on Israel. Other countries have done this. Italy, Chile, Ireland, France, Belgium, Germany, Australia, just some of the countries that have brought family members out of Gaza. What if it was your sister, your mother, your son who was stuck there, who was in danger every day? Please open the door to reunite these families. We cannot wait any longer. The time is now. May God grant all of us the grace to make no peace with oppression. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Before we conclude, I want to clearly share what we are demanding from the Canadian government. Immediate processing of and approval of the over 3,000 remaining visa applications for Palestinians trapped in Gaza, with the same 14 days turnaround promised under the Ukraine program. Urgent coordination with the Israeli authorities, the COGAT, to ensure safe evacuation of these families, similar to other countries who have been evacuating people from Gaza over the past months. And the bureaucratic roadblocks that delays evacuations include the unnecessary biometric requirement that separate families. Finalize application for those standards in Egypt, ensuring they have legal status, access to medical care and protection while awaiting resettlement. Stop harmful interrogation and invasive screening by public safety and CBSA, which traumatizes families instead of protecting them. Address the anti-Palestinian racism embedded in the TRV program, and ensure fair, humane treatment for all applicants. Coordinate with provinces to guarantee seamless resettlement and access to health care and services for Gaza TRV holders. These demands reflect the urgent reality faced by our families: starvation, bombardment, and lives on hold. We call on Minister Diab and all the relevant government officials to take immediate action. Together, our message is clear. Canada must act now. Lives are at stake, and families cannot wait any longer. And now we will open the questions for media, if any. Okay.
Could you just tell us a little bit more about your family side? Possible?
Yes.
Just a few more details about who's there.
In Gaza right now, it's my mother, 3 brothers. One is a 12-year-old. Already, two of my brothers have lost 2 academic years in school, and and my brother's wife and my in-laws, who have been waiting for a pathway out. And of course, looking at their photos most recently, they're unrecognizable. The one who lost the most weight had lost over 25 kilos. My 12-year-old has been fainting because really no flour, even the simplest things, do not exist. And all the things that we see on the media and we hear of different aids and being dropped at people, it does more harm than good for people, because some of it even end up in areas where people cannot reach or will be shot to die. As for my family who's trapped outside Gaza, it's my father and brother who have both done 2 different visa applications, one of which was under this program, and yet we are to hear anything about it. We have been working closely with lawyers, with MP offices, and with different people, trying to even just get the simplest clarity around what is their situation and what's the holdup, and nothing.
And the other family in Gaza, what's the status of the application?
So for my for my family in Gaza, we have submitted the applications when the reunification program came out, and they received their codes, and they are just pending. They are pending biometrics, so they need to be at a place where they can do their biometrics, and that would be either Jordan or Egypt for, the closest convenience of where they are right now, and they're just still waiting. And based on what the government says, that this stage was all we needed for people to actually, basically get to Canada, was to get to the codes, reaching that code stage was very stressful, was really extremely hard and very complicated. We had to share LinkedIn pages, Instagram pages, Facebook pages, phone numbers, WhatsApp, everything. They had asked us for scars, for distinctions of our own families. Living in Gaza, you can't not have scars, especially under a genocide. So we had to literally go and ask, and it was very embarrassing and very painful to ask your family members for such thing under the circumstances they are living under. Asking them asking my dad, for example, what school he went to and when was that, while he was literally on hospital bed. Like he was getting ready for heart surgery when our lawyer had to phone him to ensure that certain signatures being done, and he was present for it. He was literally on hospital bed. So we've been humiliated, we have been stressed, we have been lied to. And yet here we are, 22 months later, and we're still waiting. There has not been an experience throughout this whole process that we felt were being treated as anybody else who witnessed, including Ukrainians coming into the country. It was heartwarming seeing the welcome that Ukrainians received, and at that exact moment, I was curious, would it be the same for anybody else? And soon after, we just came to realize that no, because apparently they don't care about us as Palestinians as anybody else. So here we are, we stand here today, again, ask for a little more of what they have promised, and hopefully we can get our families to safety, and at the same time help those who are still stuck in there. It's not everybody back home is our family, and everybody deserves a better life, and everybody deserves that Canada acts on its promises and its international duties too, as a sovereign country, as somebody who calls for justice, as someone who signed all those international law and human rights. Witnessing what is happening in Gaza, all the atrocities that are currently happening, it really needs Canada to step up and do something to make us feel proud being Canadian citizens and being able to bring our families here as well.
Thank you. Any more questions from media? Okay, this way we conclude today. Thank you all for joining us today.